We all know that the president, among other things, is pretty thin-skinned, and his feud with Fox News is yet another example of how he simply cannot take criticism or what he believes it is. He recently complained that Fox was unfair because it had a poll showing that he was trailing top 2020 Democrats. By the way, several other polls by several other news organizations showed essentially the very same results. Then, after Fox interviewed an official of the Democratic National Committee, the president lashed out again, of course, via Twitter. Here a portion of it, quote, "Just watch Fox News heavily promoting the Democrats through their DNC communications director, spewing out whatever she wanted with zero pushback by anchor Sandra Smith. Terrible, considering that Fox couldn't even land a debate. The Dems give them nothing. I don't want to win for myself. I only want to win for the people. The new Fox News is letting millions of great people down. We have to start looking for a new news outlet. Fox isn't working for us anymore." Well, Fox News anchor Neil Cavuto, he took exception to Trump saying that he works for the president, and he also took the opportunity to point out many of the president's flip-flops as well as inconsistencies.
We don't work for you. I don't work for you. My job is to cover you, not fawn over you or rip you, just report on you, to call balls and strikes on you. My job, Mr. President, our job here is to keep the scores, not settle scores. You're only human. I get that. Who likes to be corrected? But you are the president. It comes with the job, just like checking what you say and do comes with my job. After all, I'm not the one who said tariffs are a wonderful thing. You are. Just like I'm not the one who said Mexico would pay for the wall. You did. Just like I'm not the one who claimed that Russia didn't meddle in the 2016 election. You did. Now, I'm sorry you don't like these facts being brought up, but they are not fake because I did. What would be fake is if I never did. If I ignored all the times you said you loved your old Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, until you didn't. Had no plans to dump your Homeland Security Secretary until you did. Called Chinese President Xi Jinping an enemy just last week and a great leader this week. Sometimes you don't even wait that long. Last week, you expressed an appetite for background checks before arguing just hours later our background checks are already strong. These aren't fake items. They're real items, and you really said them.
Former chief political correspondent at Fox News, Carl Cameron, he joins us now. He's also the co-founder of Front Page Live. Carl, I got to imagine when you heard what Neil did, it probably picked your spirits up a little bit to know that you're not the only voice over at Fox who takes issues with a president who considers your old network basically an arm of his administration.
Put it this way, and thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me. If you want to hear more of what Cavuto said, you can find it on frontpagelive.com because Neil's getting a lot of attention there, too. I'm thrilled that he said it. I think that there's a lot of people in the Fox News department that have always disagreed with the way the entertainment side has cozied so far and so closely to Donald Trump. That's really unprecedented. There have been lots of presidents who've had good relationships and bad relationships with individual journalists and journalists as a group, but nobody has attacked the media the way this president has, while seemingly until the last couple of days created this symbiotic relationship with Fox News.
Why'd you leave there?
I had been on the road with Donald Trump for about 2.5 years, and I was absolutely exhausted. I had been covering presidential campaigns and elections since Fox News Channel launched, and that took a big personal toll. My youngest son was born on Election Day in 1994, and I missed a lot of his birthdays because his was on election days. So that was part of it. But to I think the question you're getting at, did Donald Trump have a role in it? Absolutely, he did. I was disappointed, brokenhearted, disaffected, turned off, angry at journalism, at my own ineffectiveness, because a lot of the stuff that we find in the Mueller report these days were things that I reported on television, that a lot of people reported on television. And during the campaign, when so many people in America thought it wasn't possible for Donald Trump to win, they didn't pay very much attention. And now we are where we're at, with a president who doesn't know how to lead in a country that is rudderless because of his actions, many of which have never actually happened, but the damage is still done.
As you know, Carl, it is a small industry, even if it's a big one. A lot of people know a lot of the same people, and I've heard stories from inside the walls at Fox. You mentioned entertainment and news like they're almost church and state, but I defy most people, and I think most Fox News consumers, to be able to say, well, wait a minute, if I'm watching Shep Smith, or if I'm watching yourself, or if I'm watching, fill in the blank of some of the real reputable journalists, Neil Cavuto, et cetera, I'm watching news, but if I'm watching Tucker Carlson, I'm watching entertainment. I don't see there being that bright a line. Did you guys figure out where the line was at Fox, or were even you guys confused?
Well, the news division and the entertainment side, or the talk show side of it, it's kind of self-evident, you know. When you listen to talk radio on television, you're going to get the same types of messaging and the same types of discussions that you get on talk radio. And on talk radio, conservative talk radio is more dominant than liberal talk radio. And that's just a fact. And it was brought to television when Fox came online in 1996. When MSNBC came on live in 1996, a lot of the people who were entertainment hosts but not journalists came directly from talk radio. And right-wing radio and right-wing television is more effective than attempts by liberals and progressives to do that. It's just not in their ethos. The left doesn't think that they're supposed to co-opt and batter the press. Donald Trump has made the right, including the Republican Party, seem as though they are trying to muzzle criticism and replace it with what is entertainment talk and a news department at Fox, which is greatly outnumbered by the talking heads who are not journalists.
I'm curious, when the president labeled the press the enemy of the people, I obviously, I don't even have to ask your reaction when you heard that. I'm sure a lot of your colleagues, but how is it possible not everybody at Fox was outraged and offended the next day? In fact, the Hannitys of the world, they took up to defend the president as if they weren't part of the press. Listen, I'm not naive, but I was surprised that that wasn't a line that they thought he crossed.
Well, frankly, a lot of those types of battles between Trump, the news department, Sean Hannity, et cetera, during the campaign, I was not paying attention to that sort of stuff. I was reporting on real news, and I spent a great deal of my career on the road specifically to not be part of that nonsense. The news department itself tries to shoot straight. The entertainment department outnumbers it in terms of hours of news, something to the neighborhood of 24 hours in a day, and you got Shep's show and Bret Baier's show, and you got Chris Wallace on Sundays, but that's the broadcast, not the cable channel. You could arguably say that the vast majority of the hours, 22 of them, are about more opinion than news.
Sometimes, Carl, it goes from the nonsense into the danger zone, I think. I saw what Tucker Carlson said, and I saw what Jeannie Pirro said about white supremacists. You know, I know you winced, I'm guessing, when you heard it, but were you also worried that there are fringe elements that hear that and feel validated, or maybe even worse? Were you ever concerned about the things you saw not just being white noise and nonsense, but possibly dog whistles?
Oh, listen, I was there when there were riots and beatings at Trump rallies and reported about them. In my past experience with political campaigns, when a candidate incites violence, they lose. They usually drop out because they've been shamed by the electorate before Election Day. So I take a backseat to no one when it comes to understanding the consequences of this. The absence of leadership skills, the total disregard for the norms and values of this country that this president came into office with and has now amplified with an awful lot of ill-chosen decisions, most of which are not actually happening. The courts are stopping a ton. The wall has not been paid for by Mexico and never will. There hasn't, as Shep very aptly pointed out yesterday in his outburst, going against Trump hard, was that there hasn't been any new wall built at all. All they did has been repairing a bunch. So a lot of what he has promised, 12,000 lies according to the Washington Post since he's been in office, lies or falsehoods, mostly aimed at beating people up. There's a difference between what, let's say, Joe Biden's gaffes are about. He actually got the facts right. He made a mistake when he said he was vice president when we met with one of the guys, and he conflated a couple of stories about some vets that he had, and he was trying to honor their service, and in a couple of cases, the fact that they had become casualties. There's a difference between gaffes and malicious lying and doing things that are self-aggrandizing and have no real benefit for the country, or worse, in most cases for Trump, he's actually doing things that are hurting the norms and values in the U.S. It's vastly different. And too much talk about the media and Fox and this riff with Trump. I'd rather talk about whether or not Trump can actually win without Fox. I'd like to talk a little bit more about how this is actually giving Fox an opportunity to fight back that Fox loves and Trump apparently doesn't. Or is it possible that this is Trump trying to give Fox a little bit more credibility so more people will watch the news but also the entertainment side? I mean, he's crafty with his gamesmanship. The problem is it's all for his own political gain. It's not about running a country or being the leader of the free world. That's been proven a joke every time he leaves the United States boundaries.
You get to the question for me, which is whether it's next year or 5 years from now, there will not be a President Trump. Is the symbiotic relationship that at least he sees between himself and the network, obviously it's not sustainable by just, term limits, but is there a concern internally that you can't have this close a tie, because what are you going to be when he's gone?
Well, I guess the sad part about it is the short attention span that the American news viewing and news consuming audience has. It's about 3 weeks after mass shootings that most people move on in the news and around the country. And if he were to lose, it wouldn't take long for there to be quick change. Were he to win, these things will be very, very difficult to turn away. The world is still outraged and willing to accept that this is not the way things should be, and it needs to stop. If it goes on too much longer, there will be a normalization of this horrible situation, and then it could be entrenched, or parts of it. That's really frightening, yes.
Carl, I certainly appreciate the time today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
When we come back, the very latest on Hurricane Dorian as it gains steam and heads towards Florida.